came across something. You leave varsity excited for your 13K offer, then SARS walks in like Nyabonga before you even swiped your Capitec card. Rich people in South Africa oftentimes know about these horrendous tax rates. Why do you think all of them are setting up businesses? It's to preserve their wealth. These tax rates may change, but the principle stays the same. If you don't learn the tax game, you'll always stay broke. Welcome back to the Finance Mage. Today's topic is my first salary and how to best manage it. What should I do with my first paycheck in South Africa? So here's the situation. A majority of us are about to graduate. Some of us have already graduated and others are already employed. Those of y'all who've already received your first salary know exactly what I'm about to talk about. It has often been a funny concept that growing up is the equivalent of paying taxes. Parents have always complained about taxes and like, oh, taxes this, taxes that, taxes this, taxes that. But looking at this, you kind of see where it stems from, right? Taxes are a pinnacle in our country as is. We need them. That's the reality of South Africa. Taxes provide major services like health departments, regulatory bodies, human protection services, transportation services, sports and agriculture. They control the money and how it flows in the country. They control foreign investments. They even have the power to speak on our behalf when it comes to international relations. They keep us fed. They keep the laws upheld. That said, people are still feeling the pinch of tax paying. We have some of the highest personal income tax along with the highest rates of unemployment in South Africa. So the minute that you start working, you actually get taxed according to how much you earn. There's something called tax brackets, and we're about to get into what those are and what they mean for you. You'll go across the internet searching for how to save money or how to optimize it, and oftentimes you'll find investment videos or savings videos, like how to choose the best savings account. You'll also come across a couple of scams around the internet. Hey, all of us have been there. All of us have been there. No shame, no shame. Some of us even go into gambling, aviator, you all know what I'm talking about. And some of us actually start our own side hustles. You get into things like freelancing and service providing and providing goods. But what about the rest of us, those who have to rely on a salary? Because we know a salary can often be great. It can allow you to feed yourself, provide for your family, and to do things that you otherwise wouldn't have done. So without wasting time, let's get into why your salary feels small. In simple principle, inflation. I'm not going to explain the concept of inflation. I'm just going to say that when inflation happens, we lose the value of our currency, right? The South African rand becomes weak. South African rent is already a little bit all over the place. The obvious bit is you have stuff to pay. You have food and groceries that you have to pay for. Transport and fuel, which is oftentimes very expensive in our country. Insurances, data and internet costs, these are actually quite higher than you think. And for those of us who have that additional or extra income, well, savings. Among the rand losing its value, one of the highest things that can make your money feel like it's not working for you is the taxes. Taxes are actually quite high in South Africa, like I've mentioned. But yes, a lot of things affect your salary. By the end of the month, you realize there's not a lot of money that I have left. I don't even have spare change for this. So what can I do? There's not much you can really do. The system is just created this way. We're trying to fix this massive income disparity problem. We have very wealthy people in the country, but we also have very impoverished people in the country. Like oftentimes you'll see they joke around and they say there's Cape Town and Kapa. Those are two different places. But the fact of the matter is, this is the reality. From SARS's own website, and this is only for personal income tax, our rate starts at about 18% of taxable income, all the way to 45% of your taxable income. So our tax rates go up to 45%. That's almost half your salary, right? South Africa is built on a progressive tax system, so meaning the more you earn, the more you get taxed. There are also other types of taxes, such as the wealth tax, which basically taxes the wealthy. So that basically answers the question of why you might feel like your salary is not doing the most. And oftentimes the prices get hiked for people who are business owners. When you go shopping, you'll realize that the value of the item that you're trying to buy is actually higher than it's supposed to be. Things are getting more expensive and costly, and people want more and more services. So I'll actually show you this chart. This is a tax rates chart from SARS's website. This is showing the personal income for the current tax year. So that's how much they tax. And in a second, I'll show you how they calculate it based on an example salary. With that said, how do we actually reduce the crises of high taxes in our country? Well, we don't. If you really think about it, these taxes are actually helping. All these programs we have are very necessary. The thing is, management is not always an easy concept here. There is issues of corruption built into our system, and there's constant disputes in our government. So most resources are being squandered, and one party is often blamed for all of these things. It's very hard to talk about the economical crises and salary and taxes without tying it into the apartheid system actually affected most South Africans from having a stronger earning power. So you'll oftentimes notice that the majority of people are low income earning or come from low income earning backgrounds. So that's why most of the majority of the money that is from the taxpayers goes to sectors like education and to programs like skills upliftment and more educational systems. This is my third attempt at recording a 20-minute segment. So I was getting into the example of how they calculate taxes, and I realized my camera wasn't recording. So I have to start it again for the third time. I don't know, I'm having recording issues today. Let's get into it quickly because I don't know what's going to happen with my recording situation here. I'm going to show you two examples of how they calculate taxes. Keep in mind, these examples do not include additionals like your pay, your UIF contributions, your retirement annuities, stuff like that. That's not included. We're just strictly focusing on tax. Let's say you're in the clerical space. Maybe you're a sales rep and you earn roughly 10,000 rands a month. So now, if you're earning 10,000 rands a month, that's roughly 120,000 rands per year. That puts you on the screen at 18%, which is the first tax bracket. So if you're making 120,000 rands a year, they're going to multiply that by 18%. That's going to roughly be 21,600 rands. I wrote down all the calculations here. So pretty much simple, right? There's something called a primary tax rebate. So a primary tax rebate is essentially the South African government's way to kind of cap tax rates so that it's not too expensive. It's an initiative to help along the low to middle income class earners. So essentially, it's a way to soften the tax burden. This rebate, I believe, applies to individuals under the age of 64. So yeah, they're going to multiply that amount, your annual income, by 18%. And that's going to be 21,600 rands per year. And they're going to subtract the primary rebate, which is about 17,235 rands at the top of my head. And that leaves you with roughly 4,365 rands per year of taxable income. And if we divide that into 12 pieces, this is going to be about 364 rands per month of tax. So it's not as bad when we're starting off, right? We can see this. So moving on to our second example. Let's say you are now getting some extra cash and now you're able to sustain 20,000 rands a month. So what's going to happen here is, because we have a progressive tax system, what they're going to do is tax you on the first amount and then they're going to tax you on the second bracket. If you don't follow, don't worry, just keep watching and I'll explain it. So how they work this out is you earn 20,000 rands a month, and for 12 months, that's going to be 240. That means annually. So what they're going to do is tax you on the first rate. On the screen, 18%. So because you're earning above that 237 rand tax bracket, they're going to tax you at the maximum rate. 237,000 rands and 100 rands multiplied by 18%. And that's going to be roughly 42,678. And then what they're going to do is they're going to take you to the next income bracket, and they're going to take out your annual income minus their first tax rate. So what I mean by this is, since you're earning 240,000 rands per year, they're going to minus that by 237,100. And that's going to be 754 rand. That's the amount they tax at 26%, or at the second tax bracket. And then what they're going to do is combine both the taxed amounts, or the taxable income from each bracket. So that's 42,678 plus 754 rands. And that's going to give you 43,432 rands per year of taxable income. Keep in mind that there is a primary rebate. So on your initial amount, they're going to subtract that 17,000 rand 200 because it's a primary rebate. Everyone gets it. It doesn't matter who you are. The only people whose tax is different are people above 64 years and older. So now that your total taxable income is there, they're going to subtract the primary rebate. And that leaves you with about 26,197 rands per year of taxable income, because they've removed that 17,235 rands of primary rebate. And that's going to be roughly 2,183 rands per month of taxable income from your 20,000 rand per month salary. So you're going to be taxed 2,000 rands per month. So that means you're going to be left with roughly 17,817. But that's not factoring in like your UIFs and other rebates and stuff like that. Some of it come from the tax itself. They reduce the amount of tax and pay for your UIF contribution, for example. This is just an example, not necessarily how they do things. But that's how it works. Now you can see how expensive this can get once you earn a lot more. So the more you earn, the more you get taxed. If you've noticed the tax brackets, they can go up to 45%, and that can get quite expensive. So let's move on to our next segment, shall we? This is going to be what the rich people don't want you to know. We know personal income is taxed at up to 45%, but what they don't tell you is that business is actually taxed at a much less rate, almost half the amount. They tax businesses at around 27%, And that's the standard rate. There's no progressive anything that you just charged 27%. Now, it might not seem like it's like helpful that it's 27% because, businesses clearly make more money than an individual, right? So it might not seem that it's helpful that it's 27%. But, and here's a big but, businesses are only taxed after expenses. So that makes their taxes significantly less. So they are only taxed once they've dealt with the expenses. Let's say you're running an IT company and you provide a web service and you have to pay for a couple of things, right? You have to pay for the data to run that, like the Wi-Fi and internet bills. You have to pay for the rent of the place that you're in, for the electricity, the water, public services, You also have to pay for the platforms that you use to create your services. And you also have to pay the people that work for you, your employees, right? Considering all of those things, you can see how much it can quickly add up. And it will also vary per month. So they've decided, you know what? We're going to give you leniency. We will tax right after you've solved all of that mess. So business owners oftentimes write off everything as a tax deduction, meaning it can't be taxed because it's an expense of the business. So it's only taxed after, remember. So they pay off everything till the end of the month, and then they're only remaining with very little amounts. You're only taxed at whatever is left over. So imagine if you leave over 1 rand, what's 27% of 1 rand, I'm just saying, it might not exactly be this way, but it's very relatively similar. So you're going to notice a lot of wealthy people having businesses. This is essentially because their income is being protected by their business. So because businesses can oftentimes write off everything as a tax deductible or a business expense, they get away with pretty much everything. That's how you see how they have lavish lifestyle. It's because the business provides it for them. So that's the one thing they don't want you to know. The Constitution actually supports businesses rather than individuals, as you can see based on how they tax people. So a business is a very tax efficient providence. And in most cases, a business can declare for bankruptcy if they're not doing great, and the government will actually bail them out, something they will never do for you personally. That one, there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have. As you can see, there's a lot of incentives with running a business. This is why you'll notice that wealthy people have a lot of businesses. And oftentimes, business owners have an advantage, that they have multiple streams of income, something that an individual person doesn't have. You rely on your salary, right? They rely on multiple salaries in keeping them alive. So the wealthy are the business owners in most cases. It's not always true for everyone, but every person who is wealthier than the average is a person who owns a business. So you must know that they understand the Constitution. And sometimes they don't even have to do these calculations themselves. They hire tax practitioners and accountants to do it for them. So yeah, maybe take this as an inspiration for you to start your freelancing gig and register that Pty Ltd business. So your job as an initial income earner is to actually start a savings account that is strong enough so that you can start your business. Basically work so that you can have the means to start your own business so that you can start earning these incentives and rewards. A business is the way to go, not a salary. There's something else too that the wealthy commonly use: tax-free savings accounts and retirement annuities. The earlier you start both of these, the earlier you get to reap its rewards, or the rewards are significantly more than the average. So as you well know, I mentioned the tax-free savings briefly in my previous video. You can check it out here. Basically, a tax-free savings has a lifetime contribution of 500,000 rands, like 500,000. You can't contribute more than that. That's the cap. Once you start contributing more than 500,000 rands, they're going to tax you on that 500,000 rands because that's personal income. But if you start your lifetime investment, let's say you have 500,000 rands and you invest all of it right when you're starting to work and you're able to reach that 500,000 rands cap, your money's not going to be taxed and you're going to earn significant compounds and returns. There's some people we've heard stories of, there's someone who had 2 million rands in their tax-free savings account because their parents started it for them when they were young. So they had a massive advantage over many of their friends because they don't actually tax the interest you make from your tax-free savings. They tax the initial amount. And retirement annuities are important because they grow significantly the younger you are. So the earlier you start saving for a retirement annuity, the better. They're very good and a very important tool to the wealthy people. They use these the most. You're not going to find someone who is moneyed without one of these tools. So how to preserve your own growth and your salary? It's simple. When you're starting out, there's not much you can really do, right? You're not even taxed that much to complain. So keep your head down, keep working, and take the majority of your money into savings. So that's the 50-30-20 rule. Invest early. Put your money into investment accounts. I recommended Easy Equities. I already talked about them. If you haven't seen that video, it's already up. Introduce an early tax-free savings account. Do not withdraw from a tax-free savings. If you do, you'll make a major loss. Make sure that you contribute that 36,000 rands per year if you can afford it for like 14, 15 years, and you're good to go. You're set for life. Since you're young, it's very important to work to gain experience rather than just working there for permanence. It's great to seek permanence and security, but you're oftentimes going to cap yourself. So when you're younger, job hop. Do 3 years there, 2 years there. Add your skills up so that you have a lot of experience. This is going to pay you when you're a bit older because you can turn it into a business. Why not? So this is called skill stacking, learning to earn more, basically. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps out the channel. And if not, comment, engage, show that you're interested in the video. And remember, you're one of the privileged few. Not a lot of people know about this information, so that's why I'm sharing it with you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.